Hi everyone, this is cardiac blood flow for Biology 2402. My name is JC and I will be presenting this today. This is for the extra credit project. So today we're going to be talking about blood flow throughout the body. This talks about systemic blood flow and the cardiac muscles and pretty much anything you need to know besides the nitty-gritty. So to start off, blood comes from the extremities and dumps into the vena cavas, both the superior and inferior vena cava. These are full of deoxygenated blood, so they have no oxygen. The tissues in the body have already used up all of the oxygen. So it's on its way back to the heart to be pumped through the lungs and to be oxygenated again so that they can be recycled and sent back to the extremities to oxygenate them again. So the blood will flow into the right atrium from the superior and inferior vena cava. The superior vena cava drains the head, the neck, and the arms, and the inferior vena cava drains the lower body, so the abdomen and both the legs and all that goes along with that. So after the deoxygenated blood comes in from the vena cavas, it goes into the right atrium, and once the right atrium contracts, it pushes the blood through the tricuspid valve. Well, the tricuspid valve only opens when it has a force pushing against it, so it will not reopen to when the ventricles contract, so it won't push the blood back up into the atria. So that's really the purpose, and it keeps the blood from regurgitating and coming back up. So the tricuspid valve is called the tricuspid valve because it has three leaflets. So it has three little flaps that are forced open and allow blood to go through. And there is also a sister valve, kind of, on the other side of the heart between the left atria and the left ventricle. It's called the bicuspid valve. Well, instead of having three flaps, it has two. So my professor says try before you buy. So that's a good way of remembering which one comes first in the cardiac blood flow. Once this tricuspid valve opens, the blood rushes into the right ventricle from the right atria. All of this is deoxygenated blood. So the purpose now is to pump this deoxygenated blood to the lungs so that it can get oxygenated. So from the right ventricle, when the right ventricle contracts, the tricuspid valve closes tight and the blood will be forced through the pulmonary semilunar valve. So once it goes through the pulmonary semilunar valve, it is in the pulmonary trunk, which is the pulmonary artery. So also another important fact is that the pulmonary artery is the only artery in the body to carry deoxygenated blood. So artery means away from the body, away from the heart, and so A and A is away from the heart. So, which this is important to know because on certain diagrams, it will show the colors of the arteries and the veins. So in this specific case, the arteries are red and the veins are blue. Well, in the pulmonary veins, it will be red because it has oxygenated blood, and the pulmonary arteries will be blue because it has deoxygenated blood. So do not think that veins only carry deoxygenated blood because there is one exception, and it goes for the same with arteries. So this is the pulmonary artery and pulmonary vein that are the exception. So once this blood goes into the pulmonary trunk, it travels to the lungs and it goes to the gas exchange. The gas exchange is very important to know about, and it is regulated a lot by pH balance within the body. So This is a very complex process, and it would take a whole nother video to explain this, so I'm just kinda gonna quickly touch on it. So, the blood will not the blood won't sense it, but the body will sense when to pick up oxygen and when to drop oxygen based on the pH of the body, and that has a lot to do with carbon dioxide pooling and, accumulating within the tissues. So, um, a lot of carbon dioxide builds up in the tissues, so it causes a higher pH. Um, and so it will create an effect where the blood wants to drop the oxygen that it has picked up. So that is very important to know about. So if you want to know more, I would do some research on that if I was you. So once the blood has went through the gas exchange, it will then travel from those capillaries within the lungs through the pulmonary vein. Remember, the pulmonary vein is the only vein in the body with oxygenated blood. So, this vein takes the blood back to the heart and dumps it into the left atrium. And then the left atrium then contracts and it goes through the bicuspid valve. So you can see here that this is the bicuspid valve and this is the tricuspid valve. This has 3 leaflets and this one only has 2. This is the aorta and then this is the pulmonary trunk. So you can see that with these 2 valves, they are shut tight, so nothing can get through once it is already through. So it's very important to note which one is which so that you can tell which side of the heart is what. So once through the bicuspid valve, the blood will enter the left ventricle, and then it will contract, and the bicuspid valve will close, and then this will pump the blood to the rest of the body to complete systemic circulation. So this systemic circulation oxygenates the tissues and helps the body to stay healthy. So, a few special facts. So, the only vein that carries oxygenated blood is the pulmonary veins. I've already talked about that. It's very important to note because you want to be able to label the diagrams and understand which one is which within the respiratory system as well as the cardiac and the blood vessels of the body. So another way to tell a heart apart, other than the bicuspid and tricuspid valve, which side is which, is the left ventricle's myocardium is twice as thick as the right ventricle. This is because the left ventricle has to pump the blood to the rest of the body, and it has to have a very strong force. So the myocardium, which is the muscle, is twice as thick and it contracts twice as hard as it does in the right ventricle. So that is very important to note because in a dissected heart, you can see that, and so you can tell which side of the heart is which. So that's just important to note. So those are my special facts. And then these are my sources. Each one is for the photograph. Everything else came directly from the lab and the notes that were provided. So I really hope you all enjoyed this video and thank you for watching.